Hey guys, welcome to the Hustler Hotspot, a podcast by Hustler Marketing, where we discuss retention marketing strategies, e-commerce success stories, and everything in between. Hello and welcome to the Hustler Hotspot podcast, a space where we chat about all things email marketing, e-commerce, and beyond. My name is Carrie, and I'm the head of copy at Hustler Marketing. And today I'm joined by two of my colleagues. I've got Danny, who is the design lead, and Monika, who is the marketing director. And we're going to discuss a topic which is very close to my heart as a copywriter. We're going to be chatting about the importance of the relationship between good design and effective copy, because both of these elements are the backbone of email marketing. And as a copywriter myself, I can't wait to delve into this discussion and get to the root of it and find out more. So without further ado, let's get started. So, copy versus design. This really is the ultimate chicken and egg situation. Each of these elements works together towards the same goal. And that goal is to get those click-throughs and to achieve those conversions. So what I thought we could do is to kick off this conversation with a quick question. And this is for both of you, Danny and Monika. When each of you receive an email in your inbox, what do you notice first? What stands out for you? Is it the copy or is it the design? Maybe, Danny, you can answer us first.
Thank you, Carrie. Well, I'm going to speak from my perspective, which is from the designer's point of view most of this time, but I'm also will put myself in the shoes of the consumer or the client. And I think me personally, I'm a very visual person. So usually what catches my attention first in everything that surrounds me is the visual aspect of it. So I would say for me, at least, it would be design. I think it's more obvious, right? So if you change or tweak something in the design, even if it's something super simple like color, it changes the whole mood of the whole thing. And even if copy and design are always together and they complement each other, I think as humans, we usually see this kind of stuff before diving in like completely on the things that we consume. We first fall in love with what we see. So in my opinion, it would be design. What do you think, Monika?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. I do also look at the design, but I don't mean like the finer aspects of design. Mostly I look at it like in terms of like colors, what color is it, what kind of, and now I think my perception, my behavior has changed. So pre-Hustler, I used to just not look at email that much. Honestly, I used to just get them in my email and it'd be like, okay, this is a nice email and this is nothing to write home about. But now I have actually started noticing everything. I notice like the template they're using, like whether it's like, just one image or like it's like a nice flowing thing. Yes, I do. I'm big time into like great copy. So I really like emails that are, that are like funny or have like a concept. So I do notice copy quite a bit. In fact, some of my favorite emails, I would say, are the ones that have like an interesting concept in terms of like copy. So yes, initially first impression is always like the design, but then what gets my attention is the copy, the words. And I don't mean like maybe like a really good language or like how how the words are flowing, but more like the content of those words. So yeah, but you know what, this is one question that has always fascinated me, and now that I have both copy and design on this, I want to know from you, how does it work with the clients? Yeah, like I always used to wonder, we create some of the best emails that I have seen, literally any brand create, and be it design or even copy. So I always wonder, is it the client coming up to you and saying, hey, this is the concept, and then Carrie goes on and creates copy, and then she tells, this is the kind of design concept we need, or is it the other way around? So walk me through the process. Let's see, like, if the client is coming up with a spring summer campaign and you have a free hand, how does it work? who goes first?
Do you want to take that first, Danny?
I don't mind. I can do it. Yes.
Okay, cool. From your point of view,
so,
walk us through from a designer's point of view.
Yeah, well, here is like the magic of it, I think, because as creatives, there's no like magic formula, or like, it's not like a very structured process like maybe if you work in engineering or something like that. So we can tweak and adapt our processes and the way we work with the specific problems and clients that we have. Usually the clients that we get, they have already their concept, the way they want to communicate with the people that they're public, I'm sorry. And there's no much to do there because they are already a very structured agency or company, or whatever product that they're selling by themselves. We just trying to facilitate and maybe make a better approach to their clients with our perspective and our experience on it. So we work more like with them, trying to improve the things that they haven't noticed yet. And yeah, I think I believe it's the same with copy, but I'm not sure. You let me know what you think, Carrie. At least for us, it is like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also in terms of the structure of how things work in our agency, if that's also to answer your question, Monika, the general flow of work goes that we get the brief arrives, and it first lands in my department, in the copy department. And from there, the concept generally, like Danny was saying, is quite fleshed out already. So the campaign idea and etc. Sometimes there is some work that needs to be done or something that needs to be fleshed out. And that can happen between my department and Danny's department as a kind of collaboration. Otherwise, it starts in my department and we create the copy and we create the copy deck. And once that's been approved and that approval process has happened, it moves from my department to Danny's department. And then that copy needs to go into design. And that's where our two departments need to work really closely together, because it's not just a case of taking copy and plugging it into design. Those two, there has to be a lot of dovetailing that happens, because copy needs to be written for design and design needs to be the email needs to be designed for the copy. So there's a lot of that's really where our two departments need to work really cohesively, because to get the best results out of both of our campaign for the campaign. So if you just we're working completely independently, you might not get such a cohesive result at the end. And sometimes that's where the tweaking happens. The designer will notice this banner copy is far too long and it's not going to look good in design, and that's where the designers and the copywriters work together. Or the body copy is too short or too long and for the design, or the designer had in mind is not going to work for this copy, but the copy is perfect, so I'm going to have to tweak my design. And then there's a bit of back and forth there. And being, we all work remotely, and being a global agency, that obviously has some challenges with time zones and people working in different countries. So we need to work around that. But I think it's actually made us even more skilled at what we do. Personally, I don't know what you think, Danny.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you're saying that, I think it's really important that we work together, as you said, because usually copy dictates the tone of the things we're gonna design. So if it's a really playful copy, it's funny, it's cheeky, then you feel the freedom to go with bright colors and stuff like that. If it's more sober, you should be more minimalistic and stuff. And it's not obvious for the people who don't know it, but if you see something that is really, serious, a serious header, and then there's a lot of colors and fruits and sparkles and everything going around, it is kind of weird it feels weird. So there is a lot of thoughts behind that. I know because I've heard that people think that creatives, we work like we're like kind of like children, and we play around and we try to experiment with it, but there's a lot of thought and knowledge and experience behind what we do. And that's why it's important to have people on your team who are, passionate about it, but who also have like a background on marketing as well. It's not only design or copy, it's behind us. There's a world of marketing that guides what we do with our work.
Absolutely. And you know what I think is really interesting about what we specifically do at Hustler Marketing is that we are very niche in the sense that we do email marketing, and that is our niche markets largely. I mean, obviously we do SMS marketing, and there's other areas that we work in, other spaces, but for the most part, we do email marketing, and that is our niche. So other agencies where you can work as a designer or a copywriter, even if it's other digital agencies, there might be a lot more scope. So if you're a copywriter, you could work on social media, you could work on a website copy, you could work on and an email and this and that all on any given day. But for my copywriters and for you as a designer and for your team, you work on a very niche section every day. And that really gives you the opportunity to hone your skill sets. So I find that, it really gives you a lot of opportunity to just become an expert in one area and to just really focus, because I know with copywriting, and I'm sure you can answer after this about how you find that for design, but with copy, you can be a writer, you can be a copywriter, you can be a digital copywriter, but what we do here, it's not even just sales copy, it's so specific, it's so niche, and yeah, we really do get an opportunity to exercise that. And because we have such a variety of clients, it's never like it's not like it's boring because you're doing one thing. There's still that variety and interest that you are getting the chance to hone in on that skill. And
yes, absolutely. No, sorry, Monika, you go. I would like to hear your point of view.
No, it's good to know that, because I have always been like a one person team rather. So I work really well with like coming up with concepts and then writing the copy and then briefing designers on how to design it. So, but for our emails, I've always wondered. So yeah, that helps. Thank you for sharing that insight. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the rest of this conversation is going to be. So yes, I'm just going to like slip into the background and listen.
No, I think it's important that you comment on it because, maybe we are like too involved in our areas that we know exactly what goes on, but there's stuff that people who are not as involved, as you said, maybe you work as a one person team, and it's different when you're working with people and with creative people, which are always, we work differently maybe in the way we work and we process stuff and all that kind of thing. I wanted to ask you because, well, obviously before we started recording this podcast, we had a couple of talks. We got to know each other first. Me and Carrie, we have been working closely together in the last few months. And she mentioned something that for me is really interesting and that I didn't know a specific term for it. But it happens for our teams, for both of our teams. We do that, which is the revelation of repetition theory. And I would like Carrie to maybe comment on it. We can talk about it, and maybe you, Monika, can tell us how you feel about it, you that work in another area on Hustler.
yeah, absolutely. So for me, what this really means is that, as in my field, we get to work, like I was saying, on something quite niche every single day. But instead of letting that become something that just becomes like a daily grind, like, oh, I'm doing an email, and you just kind of go into auto drive, and you just kind of go into, I know what to do here, and I'm just going to let my skill take over, and there's no creativity involved, which you can see how that could happen in an area like this. The revelation and repetition theory comes in when it's like, actually, when you are doing something that you are doing repetitively, it opens up the opportunity for enhanced creativity, because of the fact that you can almost slip into a bit of a I'm confident in this area, so I don't have to worry about the nitty gritty. I know how to do the basics, so I can let loose on the creativity side of things. So it's like, I've done this 100 times, I've done this 1,000 times, I know the basics, and that gives me the freedom to expand on the creative side of things. So for us who work in quite a niche market, we really do get to play in that space instead of just and we really should press into that space instead of just thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this, I'm just going to switch off my creativity and I'm going to do the same thing 100 times. We should just really focus on the fact that allows us to say, we can just say the basics I've got down, but that allows me to actually just be a whole lot more creative in what we're doing. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear if you find that with design as well. Like, I know the templates that I'm setting, if that's how it works, and I know the designs that need to happen. I've done this 100 times, but now that gives me the freedom to be a whole lot more creative in what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I think, and actually this happens a lot because we have clients who have been here working with us for years already. So we try to keep the same designer who onboarded them for the longest time possible, unless something happens, that whatever happens, they can do it anymore, because they, as you said, they get familiar with it. And if you see templates that we've done even months ago, like 3 months ago, that is not that far away from us, and you check the ones that are being done right now, the difference is like huge, because there's an evolution in which we evolve together with the client, and we evolve with their product, and we understand it better. And sometimes even there's a really good communication and collaboration with their internal teams. So sometimes we end up working even in talking with their internal designers and their, marketing representatives, like within the company, because we tend to, get together and evolve together, and we do worry about our clients, and we do want them to grow. So it's this kind of natural thing, and it's organic, and we can be more creative, and we forget about, it's not like you're not doing it, but you tend to not do it like consciously, like the technical stuff. You already have it, and you are really you're already an expert on it. So that's the magic of it. Also, and this is really funny because I'm not actually a designer as in a career. So the revelation of repetition theory, it applies, I think, to all creative fields. I am an architect, and I remember that when we used to make, these huge projects, they usually take months to build maybe a building or something. And sometimes you need someone else to watch it from outside, because you're so used to your project that you don't see the obvious, so you need someone else to step in, watch it with a fresh, view, and maybe give you some comments on it, since you're so used to it already. I don't know if it happens in the field that you work in, Monika, but or if maybe it's just a creative thing. I'm not sure. I just want to know if it's the same for you, because I think it's interesting.
No, first of all, thank you, because I had never heard of this term before. So very interesting. And, now when you actually put a term to it, it makes so much sense that once you specialize in something, and the more niche you go, the more, the stuff that would actually sound like, impressive to somebody else becomes sort of hygiene to you. And then it's all about like pushing the envelope and, stretching your creative limits even more. and that becomes the new baseline, like once you have that. So I know, like with email, I see that we started with like very basic looking emails. They were never bad, but like really basic. And now 3 years in, I feel that every time there's like a a very complex email, I feel that has become like the new normal for you guys. And now that you have to like constantly keep topping. So I don't know if there's a term for it, but there has to be like the other side where you feel that it's your own expectations or your own sense of what is now hygiene is constantly pressuring you to sort of like go to the next level. So I don't know, like I don't think I'll be able to deal with that. And I have, in my limited capacity, I'm a generalist, not a journalist, and I don't kind of have that revelation repetition problem, because I do with like I have to deal with like 5-6 different things in my department. But I know what you mean by like when you become good at something, that becomes the new baseline, and then you have to constantly keep upping the ante. So very interesting concept. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that you deal with it on a lot more severe and intense form of it than I do.
So Monika, where you were saying you're a generalist, is that the term I think you used? So obviously Danny and I, we do one specific thing, but actually I was going to say to you, Danny, I feel like I'm a bit of a designer too, and maybe you feel like you're a bit of a copywriter. And I think that's part of us being, of what we're discussing today about copywriters being, and copy and design working well together. Because so often I see when the copy gets submitted to your department, it'll be the designer who'll say, not only just maybe pick up a typo or something, but the designer might push back and say, maybe we need to take this paragraph and turn it into bullet points, or maybe we need to rethink this or that. And how we actually are learning each other's skill sets, and how that is enhancing. Or the copywriter will make a comment and say, please, can you actually think about this kind of design, or could you consider this if you think it could work? And how that is enhancing, and one of the ways that copy and design are so beautifully working together to make a better end result. So we are very, very niche in what we do, but at the same time we are getting an eye for each other's. That's what makes a good designer, and that's what makes a good copywriter, is to have an eye for each other's field. And so it's really, it's interesting that I've noticed that for sure, out of that the good copywriters definitely pick up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because we translate what you guys write, it's already an art by itself. So we translate what you guys write in visual, but like that's what we do. So we try to make the most important things that you wrote, maybe in a bigger hierarchy, with the fonts that stand out the most, and that's what makes the magic of it, I think, when we're working together. And also I would like, because for me at least, and I know for my team, it's really different to be designing for, I don't know, maybe if you're doing a menu or if you're doing a poster or something like that. It's really different for us when we do that. Like the way we work with the copywriters is really different than in email marketing itself, like specifically on the field that we work. So I think there's many things that makes us different from the other designers. As you said, there's every single field that of copy, sales copy, maybe other kinds that I don't know about, but we make different, we make things differently. So I would like to know what's the difference between a normal copywriter or a copywriter from another field and a specific email copywriter. What do you guys do different? What do you see that others don't?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically what we are sales copywriters, but the way we differ from just general sales copy that you might see on a website when you land on a landing page is that we have like if you've got a bite-sized attention span of a user on a landing page, we've got a nibble-sized attention span in an email. So we have got to really just condense everything, and just from design to copy to, we've just got to point that user and that attention to that pivotal point. So it's about assimilating that information into as little bits of consumable information as possible. So it's really just about taking that vital bits of those points and just jotting them down and getting them across in a really understandable way. So we do obviously do those emails which are more blog style or story, or trying to take the user on a journey. But the basic sales copy that we do is just pointing the user to click through and to get them to make the purchase or sign up or whatever. And you can't lose them. So it's also hard for a copywriter, because you don't want to make the mistake of falling in love with your copy and wanting to keep writing, and you're like, oh, this is so great, everyone's going to want to read this, when actually they're just scanning it and they just want to pick up the highlights. Okay, 20% off, click here, or do this or do that, or never click here. That's a really bad call to action, but they just want to be able to understand it by scanning it. And that is such an art for someone to just scan the page and still understand what you're saying. So I would say that's the main difference, if that answers your question. And I think where the design comes into that is that your design needs to point the reader to those main points, exactly what you were saying. Is that's also a skill to take the copy and say, okay, I'm going to read this. Okay, that needs to be highlighted. That needs to be highlighted.
Absolutely. I think, and I read it somewhere, it's those kind of fun facts that you have that you read or listened to somewhere, in which, especially the younger generations, they don't have the attention span that we had before, when we used to get things throughout the process. Now everything is so, it's instant. They give you the information, they give you the reward, everything is like fast, and we live in a faster pace than we used to before. So I think, and maybe Monika can comment on it later on, but I think that as a person who creates this content, and as a client, you try to be as direct as possible. You try to give the information in the least amount of scrolling down, because we are already stuck in our screens like a lot of time throughout the day. So we don't really want to scroll down a bunch of words and things that are not really necessary or attractive to the eye to get to the thing that we want, which is basically maybe a discount, or check out some new product, or something that is why you're subscribed to a specific brand. So yeah, I think that's the main point. We really need to be and catch the attention as much as possible in the least amount of elements that we can give to the person. But what do you think, Monika? Is it the same for you? Do you lose your interest really fast, or what happens?
No, actually, I'm one of those patient ones that still values long form content. So I really like when a brand puts in more effort in getting somebody's attention than just like being very flashy and be like, click here and all of that. I like brands that honestly don't even try to get attention. Like, they're just like doing their own thing, sticking to their brand theme, and just like you look at their emails and it just looks like that's their brand. They're not trying too hard to impress you. They are just doing their thing, and I think that I find very attractive, and very few brands get away with that. Of course, the more successful a brand is, the more it can afford to do that. But I feel like you've arrived, then you don't try hard anymore. So yeah, I think few of our stores have that quality where they just like this is our story and some of the products, but they're not like shouting from the rooftops, hey, 50% discount, buy now. And that's really amazing. Like, for example, eternity modern emails, I would say, are one example, right? They weave a story, they talk about collections, they talk about like the history of different pieces and furniture. But unlike a few other stores, they're never like today's sofa on discount, buy. So I think that's one quality that I really like in and those are the kind of brands that I'm willing to reward with my attention and a longer span of attention. But it's very subjective.
Something that's interesting that you said, so about each company having their own obvious brand tone and being confident in that and not flashy. It just reminded me of a really interesting article that I read. So I read this article about where they did a test here in South Africa, where they took consumers, they blindfolded them and they took them into retail stores. And then once they were in the retail store, they took the blindfolds off. And these were in kind of big consumer stores, grocery stores. And then they said to them, what store are you in? And they got them to guess based on the aesthetic, of the shelving and everything. And out of all of the stores, there was only one that has a very kind of unique aesthetic. The rest, they just all look the same. And it was just like saying how important it is to like build an aesthetic and everything. And that's exactly the same with your emails, because if you open 10 emails in front of you and you hide the branding, like you hide the logo and you hide the whatever, and you say to the consumer, here's 10 like furniture emails, like guess where they're from. It's so important that they need to be able to say, that one's Eternity Modern, and I can't see the logo or whatever, but I know because they've got such a distinct tone of voice and they've got such a distinct design, and it translates in the copy, and that is obviously what we need to be achieving and doing, instead of just getting 10 emails that all look the same, or 10 sales emails that all look the same. And that is the true gift of a designer and a copywriter, because like I said, you've got so little space to get that across. You've got so little time and so little space and so few words. So that is really what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I think we do a great job in achieving that. By we, I mean you guys, really. Because I have seen that we work with rather like the smaller brands, and I have seen that despite their small size, they are like almost like bigger brands and having their own identity, their own design aesthetic. I'm not supposed to name the brand, but like we have a jewelry brand, custom jewelry brand, and every time I get their email, even if I don't, just like you said, Carrie, even if I don't see what the brand is, I immediately know which brand it is, because each of their email has like this boho vibe going on, where they have like a bit of the beach, bit of the bit of luxe, but they also have like a very significant specific design, and no matter if it's a sales message or it's a more like a nurturing content, they always like look very similar. So yeah, I think, and I this is about one brand, but I've noticed that about so many brands. And I think this happened after we came on board, because I think we have given like a lot of brands a very, very distinguished identity.
Yeah.
You want also, you go, Carrie, sorry. Okay. Also, that now, just to complement what Monika was saying, I think there's a lot of, this is going to be controversial probably, but we're, humans are animals at the end of the day. So we like very basic stuff, even if we don't notice it like straight away. So the comfort of knowing, like Monika said, like I know this brand and I know what they're gonna do, and I feel like it's familiar with me, and I feel like it goes with their product, is the comfort of familiarity, of knowing that everything is working together, and it even makes you feel more safe when buying a product from them, because it looks very professional, it looks very structured, unlike other brands that might be bigger, as you said, and they have like this very bad marketing, email marketing, design or copy, maybe even with like huge typos. I've seen like big brands with typos that are like even scary. Like I'm not even an English native speaker, and I do notice that it's wrong, you know. So that's another thing, that being professional and doing these little things that people feel comfortable with goes a long way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah, I really do think that we do manage to achieve that with our clients, because they're so, none of them are generic. They really do rise out of that state of being generic.
And they
So
punch above their weight, some of them, and that's a great thing to do in marketing. I've seen like some multi-million brands, and I'm based in India, and I've seen it here. Do like in the, like how we create templates, like we create like a bunch of different images, and it all flows in like one long email, right? What I have seen some brands do is they literally stick one image on the email, and that becomes like their entire email is like one image, and everything, the copy, the CTA, the content, everything is on that one image. So yeah, I mean, coming back to your point, like a lot of people don't know like what are the different elements that go into making an email. Before I joined Hustler Marketing, I never paid any attention, but now that I am also designing emails, I've seen like how different elements come together to form one cohesive whole. Like, you know, like even joining two images so they look like one image requires syncing the details to the T, so that they look like a continuation of each other. So anyway, I'm fascinated by like how we do this with email. It's I think it's like with so many other channels, you have like, you can do anything, right? Like with say video or Instagram posts or whatever, you can do like anything. But with email, with like you know, having a specific length and format and all of that to follow to achieve creativity within that space, I think that's amazing. And like I've seen your work with say Canvas Freaks and you know that space campaign, and that was like a video coming alive, a storytelling session coming alive in an email. So yeah, I mean, you know, maybe we will show that email on this video whenever it's put up, and I think it's worth like completely showing off. But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna go back to Carrie and continue the rest of this.
well, I thought maybe what might be nice to, I don't know how much time we've got left, but what it might be nice to do to, before we wrap up, would be if Danny and then maybe myself gave some tips. If anyone's listening and they were wondering what makes a really good digital designer in this space, like, you know, what do you need? What kind of skills do you need? Danny, you were saying, which is really interesting, that you come from a background of being an architect, which is really interesting. And obviously there's a lot of overlap with what you do now. But there are a lot of people who come to design from all kinds of different backgrounds. But tell us, in your team, like what kind of skills are you looking for? And we've got such incredibly talented designers at Hustler Marketing, because we've discussed the quality of work that we put out. It's absolutely incredible. And so maybe you can tell us what qualities they have.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, I am actually with you on this. We do have great people, creatives overall. I think we work with amazing people in the team, so that's what makes it quite a good company to work with. I would say the tips that it's not that complex in terms of the things that we try to achieve. It's not easy to achieve them, but the concept itself, it's nothing crazy or nothing new, you know. I would say the two main things that I always ask them to do is first to work with copy, because copy, as you said before, is a design element at the end of the day, and you have to make it look enjoyable and understandable for the person who is reading it. So I always tell to the designers, read the copy, understand it, you know, work with it, because at the end of the day, that's what the people are going to get from the email. If it's a really nice looking email, but has nothing on it, it's just an image, right? So you need to, the thing that is going to persuade the person to act on anything, even if it's an ad, commercial on TV, an email template, whatever you're working with is going to be the things that they hear or the things that they read. Design is only making it look attractive and beautiful, but at the end of the day, that's what stands out. So I always ask them to read the copy, to understand it, and to work with it. That's the first thing, and I think that's the most important, especially for what we do. And the second one is to make the elements the most eye-catching as possible. As you said, we have a really short period of time for people to really be attracted to it. So we don't want to be too flashy. We always work with the style of the product. So if it's a really sober brand and it's minimalistic, we try to make the most out of it. So eye-catching doesn't mean bright yellow and red flowers and sparkles and moving elements and stuff. That's a little bit misunderstood. Eye-catching is giving you something that grabs your attention, that it's different, and that makes you understand the whole concept in a glance. So those are basically the two things that I try to go with and that I try to make the team work around. And it's, as I said, it's nothing like too complex or too crazy. It's nothing like engineering or anything like that, but it does work. And if you understand those 2 points, you've got it. You've got everything.
And Danny, in terms of technical skills, what kind of tools the designers need to know really well to do email design right?
We try to go like all of them. I think basically all of them are actually designers now. I'm not sure. I might need to double check that, but they know like things like typography, hierarchies, color, color theory and stuff like that. It's the basics that they learn, and it's the basics that we all have to know. And if you put them together and you work around them, it does magic. As I said, it's nothing crazy. That's why maybe people think that creatives, and it happens a lot with designers, and I'm sure that it happens with copywriters as well. Maybe Carrie, you can say something about it after, but they sometimes think that since we're creatives and we work with colors and we work with words and we do cute things, there's nothing really, there's no theory behind it, but there's a lot of it. So even understanding basic things like typography is a lot of work. There's a lot behind it. So yeah, that's basically the kind of stuff that they need to learn and they need to know before actually designing for our clients. I don't know, Carrie, is it the same for you? Do you have the same feeling? Because it has happened a lot to me.
Yeah, so in terms of my team, we do have also quite a wide variety. Everyone on my team is a writer, but a lot of them have, two have actually legal backgrounds, which is really interesting, before they came into copywriting, and which is fantastic in terms of being great at proof editing and copy editing. So, but all of them are writers. And like we spoke about earlier, there are so many forms of writing. So, some of them maybe came into copywriting through different channels of writing, but, and then they need to kind of get up to speed with exactly the kind of digital sales copy that we specifically do. But they do all need to have had some writing and copywriting experience, previous experience. And yeah, in terms of skill sets and things that make them good at their jobs or what we're looking for, they need to really be perfectionists, but know when to let go. You can't be the kind of perfectionist who, because with writing and I'm guessing designing is the same, you could never stop. You could just rework and rework and rework and rework. There's no end point. It's not like doing a puzzle and you put the last piece in and you're done. You can just never stop. And if you're too much of a perfectionist, then self-doubt can creep in and you can just continue editing your work forever and never get to that point of saying, I'm done, I'm going to submit. But they do need to be perfectionists and not just do slapdash first and then send it off. Did you want to say something, Monika?
Yeah, I wanted to know how much of a leeway you have with like the language. I know every brand has its own brand voice and all of that, but is it okay to like have a little fun? I'm a big fan of like funny copy, and I don't see that too much with like our brands because probably they are not at that level where they can get away with like anything. But a lot of a new trend that I've been noticing, especially in the upcoming startups in India, is that they're using humor as a big tool in their emails, because I think email is one place where that lets you indulge a little in terms of like the length of copy and like weaving a story. If you see like the April Fools and like some other events, you'll see some of the like the funniest emails coming from these like bigger brands. And even in the US, if I were to talk about like like some brands, Man Shave Company and all these like fun startups, they do a lot of fun emails. So do you think having a sense of humor is great quality to have in an email copywriter?
Definitely, 100%. I think it definitely depends on the brand's tone of voice. So we're quite tied to the brand's tone of voice. And the one thing that I have to say quite often to the copywriters is, I don't want to see Carrie, or I don't want to hear Carrie when I'm reading that copy. I want to hear the brand. So you do need to have a sense of humor, but you can't write as yourself ever, because you're writing for so many different brands in any given day. And you have to change between the brand's tone of voice. So sure, you can, if it is appropriate, let the sense of humor come through, but as that brand. And it's difficult because it's so easy to just write as yourself every single time. But then we're going back to what we spoke as before, where like all your emails end up being generic and one singular tone. But I love sense of humor. I love puns. I love things being a bit cheeky, but it has to be on brand. We do have a few clients where they absolutely love pushing the envelope. And then I know exactly which copywriters to give them to personality wise. Absolutely. And funny enough, last round when we interviewed, I mean, we always get so many applications, and I was looking through all the applications, and one of them said, I hate something about me. I hate puns. I was like, next. No, I'm just joking. I would never like get rid of someone just because they don't like puns. But I was just like, no, you need somebody who's got like a really good sense of humor, and you need somebody who likes and enjoys humor and copy. Yeah. So
puns are great in email.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you do need a sense of humor as a copywriter, and you need to not be oversensitive and take things personally. That's what I always say to them. If reverts come back and revisions come in, you can't take it personally. You've got to know that it's a learning opportunity, and that's part of the job.
Yeah. So a follow-up to that, I think, and this is my personal opinion, I feel that also being a little knowledgeable, for example, not knowledgeable in terms of like being a Wikipedia, but just like having a lot of like pop knowledge and like different cultural knowledge makes you a very wholesome copywriter. I feel like, like I've seen emails that drop like references, like if it's an event, Mother's Day, they'll be like, hey, do you know in this country so and so happens, or how did something start? And I feel like, or maybe it's a very technical product, for example, guns, for example, or bad example. Okay, so it could be something like maybe a food product, and then somebody really a nerd about food could really add like so much value to the content, because when somebody is a nerd about a topic, like whoever's writing the email, it really shows. And I'm super impressed by like less generic content, but more like knowledgeable content. I mean, even if it's like not knowledge as in like something that makes you smarter, but just like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's a fun fact, or that's like good to know. For example, also, even if like
sorry, I was going to say even topical things. I love including topical things whenever we can, but sometimes also SMS is good for that, because SMS is that much more personal than email, being instant and being read within a few seconds of receiving. So there's less of a barrier. So the SMS tone is that much less formal. It's slightly more relaxed, and it's slightly more casual and conversational. So that's also a very good space to slip in a bit of humor and to be that much more chatty, friendly, and to slip in more kind of current events, which is also quite nice to include, sometimes in a humorous way, sometimes in a, oh, the Oscars are happening, he has an award for the best chips, I don't know, but you know what I mean, things like that, which is also nice.
Yeah, that's there's this brand, and I drop it very often as an example. It's called Zomato, and if Zomato you're listening, feel very proud. They have like the funniest emails ever, funniest, most topical, like no matter, like I don't know if their marketing team works like 24/7, but every time something's happening, they will send out push notifications, SMS, talking about that one thing. And just like you said, like if Oscars are happening, then they'll be like, it's a food delivery app, right? So they will be like the Oscar for the best evening munchie goes to, or something like that. Always so on top of the game. And like, even I have no intention of buying from them because I order very little. Their emails just like make my day sometimes. And I feel that's a good space for a brand to be, where customers look forward to your email because they're like so fun, and like they have like this something about them.
Absolutely. It is a good space to be, but obviously as long as they're also converting. So that's also important. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, ladies. I've really enjoyed chatting about this. Thank you so much for your time. I definitely feel like we've just got to the bottom of this copy and design collaboration discussion. And Monika, do you want to have any last final say?
Thank you so much. I must say that as much as for our audience, it was very insightful for me, because I unfortunately don't work that closely with either of you. Of course, I work with a lot of designers, but not that much with Danny personally. So for me, it's very, very useful to learn all these things. And if I were to talk about the impact of design and copy at Hustler Marketing, I think copy and design has been the heart of what we do, really. If you go to our Instagram and look at our emails of the day and the client love, they're always like, okay, the design literally blew things out of the coat, and the copy was stunning. So it's always like design copy. So I think both of you are like two of the best people in the copy and design business, respectively. And not to sound promotional or anything, but I think the difference between good emails and like average emails could sometimes just be the design and copy. Like, of course, your technique matters and deliverability and all of that. But I feel like on the face of it, to the audience who's listening, who's seeing your emails, that's all that it comes down to. And I think that's where we shine at Hustler Marketing, is the emails that just look so good. They just feel like, like the next level of email marketing. So I really feel that, okay, and you guys, if you want to check out like some of their work, on our website, www.hustlermarketing.com, we have Email Hall of Fame, and we have sampled some of our best emails there, at least the ones we are allowed to share. So check those out. And if you read something that you like, or you see something you like, there's a good chance that Carrie's team has written that email, and Danny's team has designed that email. So do check it out. And yes, in general, if you are an e-commerce store and you're looking to like explore how you can make your emails do better, look better, feel better, then yes, give us a call, go to our website, and yes, you will not see Carrie and Daniela on, but their impact is all over. Like if you see our social media also, they're all over it. So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for educating me today. And Carrie, back to you, the host of the podcast.
Thanks, Monika. And thanks, Danny, for your time. I really enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll chat again soon. And thanks to all our listeners for joining us on the Hustler Hotspot. And we'll have some more interesting discussions and topics for you soon uploaded. So do keep checking back for more discussions soon, and follow us on Instagram, and keep checking our website for interesting blogs. Thanks, Danny and Monika.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.